Crime pays, at least if you're in the prison business. The number of people locked up in the U.S. has quadrupled since 1980. The number of privately owned prisons has skyrocketed as well. Critics point to the large number of low-level drug offenders presently incarcerated. Attorney General Eric Holder says he will ask prosecutors to tweak the indictments on charges that carry harsh mandatory minimum sentences, arguing this country's massive prison system, the largest in the world, may be doing more harm than good.
Today, a vicious cycle of poverty, criminality, and incarceration traps too many Americans and weakens too many communities. And many aspects of our criminal justice system may actually exacerbate these problems rather than alleviate them.
Studies have shown black males are targeted for arrest more often and have received sentences nearly 20% longer than those imposed on white males convicted of similar crimes. Support for change now comes from places you might least expect.
I think you almost have to be blind to America to not realize that we still have very, very deep elements that go all the way back to slavery and segregation, and that go all the way back to fundamental differences in neighborhoods and in cultures. And I think it would be very healthy for the country and for the Congress to reevaluate both the criminal justice part up through court, but also to reevaluate the whole way we've dealt with prison and the way in which we've basically created graduate schools for criminality and locking people up in ways that are increasing their inability to function in society.
Graduate schools for criminality. A recent National Bureau of Economic Research study found that juvenile incarceration leads to lower high school graduation rates and higher chances of adult incarceration down the road. Ashley Banfield is the anchor of CNN's Legal View. Anthony Papa is the author of 15 to Life: How I Painted My Way to Freedom, now the media manager for the Drug Policy Alliance, a group that advocates for the decriminalization of drugs. Anthony, you lived this story. No record, no violence. You were paid $500 to deliver 4.5 ounces of cocaine. It's a crime. It's a crime. You don't deny that. But did you have any idea that you would spend more than a decade in prison for that crime?
No, I didn't. It was an awakening. I walked into a living nightmare, made a first-time nonviolent drug sale. A bowling buddy asked me if I wanted to make a fast $500, delivering an envelope to Mount Vernon from the Bronx. At first I said no. But I got desperate when you get desperate to do stupid things, and I delivered the envelope. I walked into a police sting operation. 20 cops came out of nowhere. They arrested me. I did everything wrong, and I was sentenced to 15 years to life under the Rockefeller drug laws, which mandates mandatory minimum sentencing laws.
And that's exactly basically what Eric Holder is looking at right now and talking about right now. Ashley, if you're Eric Holder, you know, you're looking at $80 billion spent on prisons a year. Take, for example, Tennessee, cost of taxpayers for a year of youth incarceration there, $88,000. The cost of a year of public school, Tennessee, $10,000. Last year, there were more people incarcerated in this country, than received bachelor's degrees. So, Ashley, did you see any dissenters to Eric Holder's proposals?
You would have expected a cacophony, but there wasn't necessarily a cacophony to what's inside the policy. It's just to how the policy's been changed. Eric Holder effectively said to his prosecutors, stop writing in the amounts that people are getting charged with, because that way we can skirt the mandatory minimums. But he didn't go to the legislative process to say, let's rewrite these policies. So that's where a lot of the dissension has come. But this is really a bipartisan thing, Christine. Everybody knows we are in crisis. We're bursting at the seams with our prisons. And precisely with what Anthony was dealing with. There are a lot of Anthonys who are sitting in prison right now. Lest anyone, Christine Romans, should think that there are dangerous drug offenders who are going to be released out into the streets to attack our children. That's not what the policy is about either. You can't be violent, you can't have used a weapon, you can't have sold to children, and you can't have connections to drug cartels or gangs or mafia or that sort of thing. So they're being specific about the people who will not. You would not apply in this case. You would be one of those people who would be spared those very long sentences.
So let's talk about, Anthony, what Newt Gingrich said in that clip that we just played, that prisons are graduate education for criminals. They increase the inability of someone to function in society. Give us the view from the inside out. How do prisons need to change so they do more rehabilitation and less punishment, especially for what you're talking about, nonviolent drug offenders who still have committed a crime, will have to face punishment, But what do you do over those years when you're in prison?
Well, to be sentenced to 15 years to life is unbelievable. And when I went to prison, I was lucky. I acquired 3 college degrees while I was in prison. I have a master's degree from New York Theological Seminary. So education for me was a way to transcend the negativity of imprisonment. So I would say education is one way to do it. And have prisons, instead of strictly punitive punishment, make them rehabilitative centers where people can find their real selves, because prison is the most existential environment there is. And what I mean by that is something mystical about spending 15 years in a 6x9 cage. You discover who you are. So if you have these real rehabilitative programs available, you could take advantage of them.
I think mystical is one eloquent way of putting it. I think there are people
or
who
euphemistic way of putting it.
Mystical is not what I would think about in a 6x9 cell. But our prisons, actually, they are rehabilitation and their punishment. I mean, the war on drugs has been about punishing and deterring.
Yeah.
You know, have we failed? Have we succeeded? Are we to stand still?
Yeah, I think we fail in a lot of places. I think, you know, I think are an exception to the rule, Anthony. I don't think a lot of people get a degree. I don't think they get high school in prison. I don't think they get a master's degree, that's for sure. And I think they do come out with alarming recidivism rates in this country. So you can watch these programs on television that show the gang-related activity, the segregations that exist in these societies, because they are their own societies, and they are not rehabilitation for the most part. Yes, there are exceptions to the rule, but yeah. But a lot of people, it's hard to get that passed in Congress. Let's spend more money on the people in prison.
When you just look at the size of the population in prison, which is, you know, your first job is the job that is going to propel you for the rest of your life, for your economic life, for your family, for your kitchen table economics. I cover money. I cover family economics. That first step, when it is into a prison, especially for young people, you have just derailed it. That's it.
Yeah.
And it's so, so deadly. Anthony Papa, so nice to see you.
Thank you.
Ashley, talk to you again very, very soon, Ashley.